oh my goodness gracious, how many guys were put on this list for who the Jets are potentially in on. I'm going to talk through each one of the candidates. I've talked about a few. I would say maybe even most, but I think it's good to get it all in one place and just give you an overview with where the Jets are at so far. The first two guys that I want to actually talk about are people who haven't interviewed yet, but are people that I think the Jets should be interested in, and that is Todd Monken and Byron Leftwich. Ironically, both spent time as offensive coordinators for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So with Todd Monken, he is currently the offensive coordinator at Georgia. And if you aren't familiar, I could understand why some might say, oh, no, I'm all set on the college guys. I don't want to go the college route. I want a guy who's been in the pros and had success in the pros. Well, Monken has had both. One, he did a great job with Georgia the last few years, but he did have success with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the offense there. If you remember, he was a head coaching candidate for the New York Jets around the same time when they hired Adam Gase before the 2019 season. That was really one of the candidates that I was very high up on my list. It was Monken, Kingsbury, and Rule. And as we know, Kingsbury and Rule did not work out. Monken never got that head coaching job. But I would say that his offenses have still been pretty solid. I would say pretty solid. So what he was able to do with the offense for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2016, they were 18th in points, 18th in yards. Keep in mind his quarterbacks for that year. He was starting Jameis Winston, who had 18 interceptions that year. Was that his rookie year? No, that was his sophomore year. That was sophomore year Jameis Winston. Okay. And then he followed that up with a much improved performance the following year. I was impressed with his 9th in yards, 18th in points, then up to 3rd in yards, 12th in points there. So his offenses, they've been able to move the ball. 2019 went off the rails that was the Freddie Kitchens year in Cleveland. He was the OC there, but a fall guy. But he's just had a ton of experience at both the collegiate level and the NFL level. He was a wide receivers coach with the Jacksonville Jaguars from 2007 to 2010. He was the quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State in 2011 and 12, head coach at Southern Mississippi from 2013 to 2015 before he took over as the Tampa Bay Bucs offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach. And I like him. I definitely think he would be someone that I would go in on. The problem there is he is going to cost you a pretty penny. I believe he is making $2 million a year to be the offensive coordinator at Georgia. Woody Johnson, throw the bag. Throw the bag. You say money's not an object when you're trying to talk about the quarterback? Okay, that's true. Unfortunately, there's a salary cap in the NFL where it's not capped at how much money you could throw at these coaches. So throw the money at him if you think he's the guy. I like Monken. As for Byron Leftwich, people are going to point out and say, well, he had Tom Brady. How easy could that job be? And Bruce Arians was there, but he was the play caller in Tampa Bay from 2019 to this year, and his offenses were still really impressive. I think his most impressive job was actually in 2019 when he had Jameis Winston at quarterback, who threw 30 interceptions, 30 interceptions, and he still had the 3rd overall offense in terms of both yards and points. Again, did Bruce Arians heavily influence that? Probably. He did probably have some influence on it, but Arians speaks so highly of Byron Leftwich. He wanted him to get so much more credit than what he has gotten, and probably, wanted him to get the head coaching nod. I thought he was on a fast track to being a head coach in this league, but it never got that opportunity. But he is someone that I would be very interested in acquiring. Another name, which is a little bit of a controversial one, Darrell Bevell. You have people who love Darrell Bevell. You have people who hate Darrell Bevell. I'm interested with him. I think he did a pretty good job in his last few spots. I know that they're going to point to, well, things were a disaster in Jacksonville. Yeah, they were, but he wasn't calling the plays. It was Urban Meyer who was calling the plays in 2021. And then they're going to point to how things flamed out in Detroit. What people fail to realize, in games where Matthew Stafford played for the Detroit Lions, they were averaging 25 points per game. So when he had his quarterback, they were putting up points. 25 points per game would be like, I believe it's 8th in the NFL this season in 2022, if that's what it was. The Jets would be phenomenal. Imagine if the Jets scored 25 points per game. How many win? They'd be an 11-win team if that were the case. And then he spent time in Seattle, and he was really big in developing Russell Wilson before that. And even his first stop, or the one even before that, was with the Minnesota Vikings. And he actually, in 2009, when Brett Favre was there, that was arguably Brett Favre's best statistical year of his career. And this guy was the OC. And I think I talked about it in my video with him earlier in the week where I said that I think some Jet fans are underrating him. He's had offenses where they've been a run-first offense. He's also had offenses where they've aired it out. In 2009 with Brett Favre, they're throwing. Before that, when they had a rotation of quarterbacks in Adrian Peterson, they ran the you-know-what out of the football. And then with Russell Wilson, they started out, they were running the ball like crazy, and then towards the end, they started to throw it a little bit more. So he's been able to do a little bit of both. I like Bevel. Is he a perfect option? I don't know if any of these guys are, but I think you could do a hell of a lot worse than Darrell Bevel. Greg Olsen is another interesting one. No, not the tight end. I initially thought that at first. It was like, wait a second. The tight end? The guy in the Fox booth? No. He was the offensive coordinator for a large part of Derek Carr's NFL career. And really, in 2020 and 2021 is when he had the most success, I would say, with Derek Carr. Those offenses, specifically in 2021, I thought was really solid. He was 11th in yards, 18th in points, and then in 2020, he was 8th in yards, 10th in points. But again, that was some of the better years with Carr. He struggled in Jacksonville in 2015 and 16. I don't think he was that great. Yeah, he was, 18th in yards, 14th in points, and then in 2016, 23rd in yards and 25th in points. But overall, I mean, if you're looking to land Derek Carr, which is an option for this Jets team, I know everyone's big in on Lamar right now, and I get it. He's going to be in that conversation, it seems like, as well. If you want to land Derek Carr, running it back with his offensive coordinator that he's put up some of his better seasons with, would make sense. It makes sense to me. I don't know. I think he would be a pretty good option. And he has the experience. Again, the thing that with some of these other guys that we're going to get into, they don't have play calling experience. He's been an offensive coordinator in the league for 14 years. 14. The only year where from 2005 to 2021, he was an OC. The only years where he wasn't was 2017. He took a year off between Jacksonville and Oakland at the time, now Vegas. And a couple more times than that. 2008, I guess, with Tampa Bay. 2012 between Tampa and Oakland. But he's had, a ton of experience as a play caller. I think it's worth it